Hello friends, we've got another late one, and I also just completely skipped yesterday. Oops. I had the ukulele again, and today I'm going to be playing Intertwined by Dodie, and then after I'm done I'll probably go on a little bit of a rant, just because I want to put more content in this one, because I missed yesterday, so I'm going to try to make like a double today, if that makes sense. Okay. It's going to be kind of quiet, by the way, because it's late and I don't want to wake anybody up. Skin, heat, hair in your mouth, feet, touching feet, roll you, and I, safe from the world will try. Oh, I'm afraid of the things in my brain, but we can stay here and laugh away the fear. Numb, fine, you create the rarity of my genuine smile. So breathe with me. Can you drink all my thoughts? 'Cause I can't stand them. Intertwined, free, I've pinned each and every hope on you. I hope that you don't bleed with me. I'm afraid of the things in my brain, but we can stay here and laugh away the fear. Ooh, you're a little bit out of tune. Whoops. Right. Right. Rant. It's not a bad rant, I promise. I actually, so last night I had to write a paper for one of my Spanish classes that was biography. And I decided to write mine about George Washington because I'm a big American history dork, and I just think he's fascinating. I think he's a really interesting person. And the thing I find the most interesting about him is that, this is my capo, I just had it out in case I needed it. The thing I find most interesting about him is that he was, he was an incredible leader. He was, really good at what he did. He was really well respected. He had a really commanding presence in a room. People really, respected him as a leader. He was very good at what he did. He was a great, politician and general, and just overall was very good at being in charge of people. But he never wanted the power that came with being president. He was a pretty introverted guy, actually, and he wasn't known for being like a great orator. Like, he wasn't a great speaker. But he was so good at what he did. And he set so many like incredibly important precedents in like American government. Um, like him stepping, my mom pointed this out when I was talking to her about this earlier, him stepping down from his second term of president and as president and not running for re-election uh was so essential to kind of the way that we view the presidency, because the thing is, when the American government was designed, they were kind of working from scratch, and the presidency was put there like, they had said from the beginning they wanted to avoid any like associations with any kind of monarchy, but the presidency was almost being viewed as a kingship to an extent by some people, because they were so familiar with the construction of a monarchy. But Washington was he understood that that was the point, and he was very like he like made a point to make sure that as long as he was alive, America remained a democracy. um he really really wanted to make sure that the system that he helped create stayed in place. And we all know everything he said about bipartisanship in his farewell address when he retired. um and it's just so interesting how he never even wanted to have that kind of power in the first place, and yet like he did so much good. Because the thing is, he was always, he was a politician, he was a plantation owner. It wasn't that he didn't want any power at all. And he was really involved in like protests and stuff before the war started. Like he felt like a sense of, he felt a sense of duty to his country for a long time. And yet like he was very involved in the revolution, in kind of trying to get independence before they actually went to war, because he was very principled. He recognized that what Parliament and what the British what the British monarchy was doing was unjust. And he saw all of the taxes and thing and tariffs and everything for the the oppressive policies that they were. And he wanted to fix things, and he did everything he could in his power to fix things. And but like he was never at the forefront of anything. And he was very measured. Like he wasn't the kind of person who was like constantly talking to people all the time. He wasn't the kind of person to get up on a soapbox and like try to get everyone to listen to him, because he had the best ideas. But he was still, very smart, and like I said, very respected. And he was very, like I said, he was very measured. Like when he spoke, it had been carefully considered. Like he only, like said things that like he thought a lot before he spoke. And that cannot necessarily be said for certain members of the First and Second Constitutional Convention, cough cough, Alexander Hamilton, cough cough, Thomas Jefferson, cough cough. He didn't have that kind of competitive spirit that I think led a lot of people to become president and become, otherwise, politicians in the early American government, in the early federal government, like Thomas Jefferson. Like Thomas Jefferson was like super smart, but he also like thought he was right all the time. And, he wanted people to listen to him because he had all of the right ideas, and like everything would be broken if it wasn't for him. And like, he had a huge ego. And, his contributions to the founding of America are huge, and we still talk about, Jeffersonian and Hamiltonian, politics to this day when we talk about American government, when we study American government. But Washington is one of the most known historical figures in not just American history, but like history in general, like throughout the world. Like, I feel like you could talk to like anyone who like across the world had like received like a at least like a middle school kind of level education, and they would know who George Washington was, or at least they would know that he was like a prominent figure in American politics. And I just find that fascinating. Like his influence as a politician, as a leader, as just like a person like in that environment at that time has rippled. Like he died over 200 years ago, and we still talk about all of the things he said, because it was all so right. He really understood why America was becoming independent. He understood why and what they were fighting for. He was an incredible, fascinating person. And I want to read a book about him. I think Ron Chernow, who wrote the Hamilton book that Lin-Manuel Miranda read that led him to write Hamilton, has a Washington biography that's actually quoted on Washington's Wikipedia page a few times, so I'm considering picking that up. But also I'm not a very fast reader, so I might find something a little bit shorter than the monstrous books that Ron Chernow writes. What was the other thing I was going to say about George Washington? Oh, also, just he had two favorite horses, and they both have Wikipedia pages. Their names are Blueskin and Nelson, and I just like that. I just think that's great. I just find that delightful. Oh, you know what? I didn't want to... You know what? I can just do that. I didn't want to put the uke down because I didn't want it to make a noise. I have my... Yeah. Secret Lives of the U.S. Presidents. Oh, hello. Problems with balancing your camera on the bed on a bunch of pillows. Oh yeah, I made a note in here. Yeah, I started reading this a while ago and I didn't get very far into it. But it's just really fun. It's just good. It's good bedtime reading. But I made this note just because I thought it was fascinating that John Adams took the office of president when he was 61 years old and he died at 91. Like, life expectancy for men even nowadays isn't that high. So like for him to have died at 91 in 1826 is insane. And he was, how much older than Jefferson was he? 1743, 1735. So he was 8 years older than Jefferson, and they died on the same day. Wait. Yeah, 8 years. It's fascinating. Oh, but they have like notable quotes from each person. And what Washington said about the presidency is, my movements to the chair of government will be accompanied by feelings not unlike those of a culprit who is going to the place of his execution. It's so good. That's something that I found as a pattern in this book is a lot of these people despised the presidency. They just straight up, it was a terrible thing. Like, John Quincy Adams, the 4 most miserable years of my life were my 4 years in the presidency. He wasn't a great president, to be fair, but just John Adams, no man who ever held the office of president would congratulate a friend on obtaining it. Oh, that's so good. They all hated being president. It's so funny. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. Martin Van Buren, as to the presidency, the 2 happiest days of my life were those of my entrance upon the office and my surrender of it. Which, everyone hated Martin Van Buren, so that's fair. It's just so many people said some stuff like akin to like, I wouldn't wish the office of the president on my worst enemy. And I just thought that was fascinating. But anyway, yeah. So George Washington is an incredibly interesting person to read about. I just think he's neat. Yeah. What was the other thing I was going to say about him? I mean, he really enjoyed, he really liked his animals. He and his wife were together how many years? When did they get married? They were together for like at least 40 years. Oh wait, no, that's, whoops. That makes more sense. Actually, they probably were together for at least 40 years. And fun fact, also, George and Martha didn't have any kids. They raised some kids who were not theirs biologically. Well, they were Martha's, so they technically were, what would that be? He would be their, I guess he'd be their stepdad. But anyway, cause Martha was a widow. She had, I think, 4 kids from her previous marriage. But yeah, I don't know. Just thought that was interesting. He's a cool dude. I think he's really interesting to learn about. Yeah, that's all. I have been talking for a long time because I think he's really cool. And I could talk about this for so much longer, and I did this morning to my parents. And they're saints for putting up with me. But, I think that's going to be it for today's VEDA. Hopefully this nearly 20-minute vlog makes up for missing yesterday, and I will see y'all tomorrow when I register for classes for next semester.